And you're recording on Zoom. Okay.
Yes.
Are you gonna use something on the green screen at some point?
No. What was
What?
that? My remote just fell way behind my desk. I'll never be able to get it now.
I was asking, are you ever gonna use anything on your green screen?
I don't know.
Or do you just like the color green?
I just want. I mean, it would be any color.
You're like, oh,
color
it's a green screen?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's start things off. Hey guys, it's good to see you again. I have been excited to hear what burning topics, questions are on your mind. I'm excited to share with our listeners again what is on our minds. Should we go youngest to oldest this time?
Yeah.
Colin, what's on your mind?
My topic is film. I want to discuss film with you guys.
Oh, okay.
Joking, my topic is war. No, I'm just joking. Not everybody has the same history as me with film. I think, especially with going to film school, not everybody's done that. But film just always meant so much to me. It was always so deep rooted. When I would watch something, it would stay with me just forever. And I don't know why I'm so visually consumptive. I don't know, but I took a really deep dive into film school and watched a lot of films that I wouldn't recommend to other people, but I think were still integral in giving me an education as to what you can do with movies. I take it that your guys' history with film is unique to yourselves and prevalent. So maybe describe your history with film, what it means to you, whether it's more escapism or more verite, art house films for you.
Yeah. Joey.
Thanks. Yeah, I definitely have not had the education that you have had. So you are the scholar amongst us in that regard. I really like looking at things as if it was a film or a movie. Even when I was younger, and I think a lot of people do it, where you pretend, when raindrops are falling down the car window, you look outside, you pretend you're in a music video, that kind of thing. But to extent to where it's everything was some type of storytelling, even playing with risk pieces, as I would end up creating this little live action movie for my siblings to watch with all the pieces and create this massive scale thing for them to watch, and I'd share the story and have them watch, and sometimes they'd even cry, which made me so happy. I was able to convey the story enough to make them feel emotionally tied to these little risk pieces. Yeah, but then I would sometimes it would be me that I'm just picturing through oh, this would have been great if I could somehow have just recorded this situation from a third perspective or from my mind's eye. Or sometimes it'd be just me imagining, especially when I was younger, some imaginary person dealing with these different things, and I just sit there and imagine it. So I really liked watching movies. I really like creating it. I consume, like you were saying, consumptive. There's some things that I like to watch, but it's really just for pleasure. It's usually not for education of I want to watch this movie so that I can learn that style or anything like that. It's more just hey, I'm going to watch a movie because it's an enjoyable experience with my wife or with friends or whatever. Or I want to see how Wandavision ends, So it's been more for me always just about imagination versus the education of figuring out so I can better myself. Does that answer your question?
It does. And film has that right to be that for somebody. It doesn't always have to be educational, inspirational. It can just be shut my brain off for 2 hours.
Yeah, for me it was a way an outlet for the imagination. The imagination had to go somewhere, so it was pretending things were in a movie.
No doubt. Yeah, it's not even shutting your brain off. It's plugging into something, right? I mean, you're engaging. That's why we're making it more and more engaging with, I mean, just 3D, 4D, anything else that we're virtual reality. It's becoming more and more.
Pretty soon 5D, where you can smell, the blood from a bullet wound, or Jack Black passes gas, and it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. Nathan, what about you?
Nathan?
That's interesting that you guys say that. I definitely would act out scenes as a kid, and think of them as if they were a movie. But I think you guys both have more of a eye for filmmaking. Joey, you've even written novels or started. I don't know if you finished any, but it's not a dig. But you're a writer, and Colin, you've got an eye for making cinema, and that's something you want to do. And that is an interest of mine. But I think as a kid, for me, I identified with the characters, and I saw the actors themselves as heroes. So while some kids might have thought sports stars were cool, I thought the actors were cool. And the ones I thought were cool were mostly the classic ones, because that was what I grew up watching. My parents are older. I have older parents than most people my age do. And those movies tend to be cleaner. And so I watched those movies. And so those were my heroes. And I was always impressed by a performance. And I also saw, you can make me sound better in post, right?
Yeah.
leave that for
I also saw, I don't remember what I was going to say. I also saw film as an opportunity to get talent on screen. So whether that be your acting, or whether that be your musicianship, or your film score. I love music, and so I always liked things with like Bing Crosby in them, where he played a musician and then he would get to be a musician and sing a song in a movie. And it was just like a vehicle for him to get to do the thing he was already most good at. So yeah, I would go around just practicing my death scenes, or practicing being a staggering drunk, or practicing my accents. I think for me it was TV more than film. I watched a lot more classic television than film, but yeah, I think that's probably my relation.
Yeah, I was going to say one thing that is cool is just how the way that we get to appreciate some things that not the average person watches. Not saying that, we're above average or we're special or unique, but just with some of the experience that we've had with film and with movies and seeing the work that goes behind it. Shayla now, my wife, will watch a movie or a TV show and she'll catch things, or she'll make comments on things that I used to make comments on, and she'd always, you're ruining it or anything like that. But instead she now like participates, and she's like, oh yeah, that doesn't make sense. Like, why would they have done that? Or I just saw that extra go by from the left. How are they going by from the left a second time? Like things.
Interesting.
Things like
Yeah.
It's fun.
There is something you lose if you get too academic about your media, but also there can be something you gain. Like, I can be completely distracted, or not distracted, but I like when I watch a Christopher Nolan movie and Hans Zimmer is doing the soundtrack, half of my brain is just like sitting there going like, this is so incredible, the soundtrack. And then my sister, I talked to her after the thing, and she's like, there was a soundtrack? and then she watches it again, and she goes, Nathan, that's right. I'm glad I listened to that soundtrack. That was incredible and really added so much. And she didn't notice it because Hans Zimmer did such a good job with the soundtrack that it wasn't distracting. It was just an additional layer.
Yeah, and it's his music, and a lot of people that are really good at it are able to do that, where you don't notice, like, the music isn't injected to then make you feel something. The music, like, builds the emotion that you're already supposed to be feeling because of the movie, to where you don't even notice that the music is building the emotion you're already feeling.
Yeah. That's a good question, though, Colin. I think we all bring something to it, and are able to make content in a unique way because we all have a unique experience with film.
Yeah, and there's obviously overlap, but it is cool just to see the different ways we've all come to it.
Yeah. So I'll start out with a little prefacing story. So Katya and I were in the car and we were driving somewhere. And as we were leaving town, she starts looking around the car. And I'm like, what are you looking for? And she goes, if we ever ran out of gas and we don't have money on us, do we have cardboard and a marker so we can make a sign? And I just started laughing, and I was like, are you being serious? She's like, well, I mean, people run out of gas, but they always seem to have a marker and cardboard so they can ask for money. And I assume she knows that most of those people are scam artists. I assume not all of them either, but I thought it was really, really funny. But that got me thinking, do you guys have a personal sort of set of rules or guidelines when it comes to dealing with panhandlers or the homeless and interacting with them?
I'll go first since I started talking first. For me, it really depends on the situation I find myself in. I mean, if it's late at night and it's pretty sketchy, I take precautions to protect myself, protect my wife, or protect my kids, whoever I'm with. Like I won't roll my window down all the way, or I don't want to be caught in compromising situations where I'll make sure I'll step out of my car. That way I'm not, in some type of compromised situation where I'm sitting down or buckled and it's hard to defend myself. I always just talk nice, tell people that I don't carry cash because I don't. Yeah. And usually I always, I talk to them nice and politely decline, or if I have extra food, because, sometimes I've even had it where a fast food restaurant gave me an extra burger or gave me a burger that was wrong. So I gladly give that to people because I want to help people. But doing that, I've had some people say, hey, no worries. Some say thank you for the burger. Some say no to the burger. Some cuss me out and say that I'm a bunch of different slurs in front of my kids. I'm like, okay, thank you. And then I roll up my window and move forward one in the Arby's drive-thru. So there's a wide variety of responses, but I always try and just basically be nice and politely decline unless I have something that I think will actually help them. But I'm more than happy to.
I think that's a good approach, case by case. I mean, as opposed to just a flat, I always give money or I never give money to anyone. They're all horrible people or something,
Yeah, I don't think they're all horrible. I mean, I've definitely seen different people to where there's some, the people that I think are desperate are the ones that will accept anything. And so I'm happy to help. There's others like that won't even accept, like some extra groceries or produce that we had, or like I was saying, extra food from a fast food restaurant. And this is pre-COVID, so it's not like they're concerned about COVID. Those people are like, no, I just want money. And then it's like, okay, well, now I'm having a hard time. Like, why do you just want money?
Yeah. Colin?
Well, Grand Rapids is a lot different than here, because if I'm not mistaken, it's illegal to panhandle here and not in Michigan. So I was approached every day walking to or from school or on lunch. Every day. By somebody.
Wow.
There are entire streets dedicated to homeless, but it's not tents. It's just like homeless people hanging out, and it's pretty much night and day. But entire streets that I used to live on, and a little bit down, there would just be like all these, and I don't even... So I quickly learned not to engage any of them. I don't engage. I tell them I'm not rude, but I tell them I don't have anything for them, and I keep walking. I will keep walking away.
It's basically how you're supposed to treat a salesperson.
Or just a stranger. I mean, that's what they are to me. They're a stranger. I don't know intent. I don't know history. The story that they're telling me, every word could be a lie.
Yeah, well, and it's hard because I mean, the interaction could be completely random. Like it's hard to guess. It could be they're super polite, they're just down on their luck, or it could
Yeah.
be like my former dentist moved out of downtown Salem because his staff was having a hard time getting into their dentist office every morning, and he had a guy that he tried to shoo away, pull a machete on him, and chase him like a block and a half. So
Whoa.
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 you never know how the
Yeah.
interaction will be. So, which is sad because a lot of people do need help.
Mm-hmm.
It's just hard to know who is who and what's going to be a danger to the people trying to help.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've also heard that homeless people. I would love to do a little bit more research into this because I would like to. I'm trying to start a documentary with Phil Castaneda on the homeless, and that would require a lot of
Yeah.
research and like what are the key points that creates this, how to possibly cure it. So one thing that I've heard is that homeless people are actually pretty well off because of the no expenses. There was one homeless dude in in Michigan who had $5,000 in his bank account, and he's out there every day. Unfortunately, people like that probably ruin it for the really needy people who then aren't given to because of.
I mean, $5,000 though, while might seem like a lot to have in your savings account, isn't necessarily a lot if you need to get into a place and get a new pair of clothes and a job and whatever, and you can't really give up the sign holding. So it's $5,000 is,
Yeah.
and it is scarier, right? Because sure, he makes that leap to do that thing, but then he could just be right back where he was again. I don't know. Yeah. My outlook is similar to Joey's. I don't carry cash. I've given cash away in the past, and my general take on that is like, you very well could be lying about your need for it, but that's not my problem.
Oh, I consider that my problem. I don't want to enable him. So even if I do have perchance have cash, I still don't give it to him. I just don't lie and
No,
say I don't have cash.
I'm not defensive about it. Just that's my take on it. Uh, I mean, and if there is anybody who needs a beer, it's probably somebody that's homeless. Uh, I'm being serious. And
Yeah.
but generally, my main thing I try to do, and I don't want to generalize with anybody because I really don't know the culture that well, and I know it's different for everybody. But I know that it must be, for some people, humiliating to have to ask. And so, not some of them, obviously, and it sounds like maybe your experience, Colin, is quite different, and maybe just the experience of Michigan in general. But I try to normalize it, like and give food when possible. Or I've run into like a lady before. She's like, "Hey, I just need some money for a sandwich," and I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm hungry. I'll buy you a sandwich." And so we went and we bought a sandwich, and then I knew that I wasn't giving her money to go buy drugs. She needed a sandwich. She was glad to get the sandwich. We chatted about what our favorite sandwiches was, and then it was a normal, "I'm hungry, you're hungry, we both need sandwiches. We're both humans," instead of "Oh, here, take this handout.
Yeah.
Because it is a quick high. Altruism is a quick high for people, and I don't want it to be that. I want it to be genuine. Um, can't say that it is all the time, but I wouldn't want to feel patronized if I was homeless.
Yeah, definitely. It would be tough to receive some type of handout and then have someone take a selfie with me right there. Like, well, it was already
Right.
humiliating, and I had to bring myself to be willing to ask some random stranger for help. And now they're taking
Yeah.
a selfie, being like, "Look at this person I helped."
Mm-hmm. I mean, ultimately, what those people need is somebody to inspire confidence in them and show them a little bit of love. And that doesn't have to be monetary. Well, that's my soapbox. Joey.
Well, mine was not nearly as deep or
Doesn't
thought-provoking as both of yours.
doesn't have to be.
Goat milk.
Yak milk, very nutritious. Mine was that Marvel has started releasing their content, and they've got a piece of content going out every single week for the rest of this year, which is super cool. I wish we could do something like that. But my thought, or my question for you guys was that WandaVision recently just wrapped up. I don't know if you guys watched it, but if you did...
Oh, I did.
How did you feel about the finale? Were you like, yes, this is what I wanted? Were you let down? What are your thoughts? And Colin, it looks like you were shaking your head. If you didn't watch it, why did you not watch it? That could be the question for you.
Well, is Nathan going to spoil it first for me, or am I going to answer first?
Well, have you seen it?
No.
And then I will be careful.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Do you have a desire to? Are you waiting to watch?
It's tempting. I have Disney Plus. It's tempting.
Pretty darn tootin' tempting.
Yeah. But I've also heard from trusted people that it's not worth time.
See, no, I'm glad you said that, because whoever told you that is completely wrong.
Okay.
Well, okay, so this goes back to Colin's question here. I
True.
enjoy high art cinema, but I also enjoy blockbusters. And I generally find something to enjoy in anything I watch. I don't walk away from it like, well, that was a waste of, money when I leave a movie theater. I enjoy pretty much every movie. And so I enjoy WandaVision, and not being a comic book nerd, but a Marvel MCU nerd. I just like to see the characters. I like to see what they do. If they do something cool, I enjoy it. If they don't do something cool, I'm like, And I thought WandaVision was awesome. Also, as I stated, being a fan of old-timey television, I liked the little nods. Well, not nods. They recreated old-timey television. And I thought it was cool just to see that. I definitely had like those moments that were oh no, they didn't,
Mm-hmm,
yeah, which was awesome.
Colin, did you have reasons either that you're assuming or just your impressions, or that you were specifically given by other people to where you're like, it's not worth my time?
I wrote it off at the trailer. I mean, I just can't even...
So what about the
trailer? I
trailer?
can't even begin to explain how much I don't understand the concept. I mean, it's just unimaginable to me why they're incorporating this style, this 50s sitcom style, into this Marvel universe. I was just so unaccepting of the idea, and still continue to be, even here. I did watch a spoiler review. I watched a spoiler review from a trusted Chris Stuckman, who reviews movies. He has almost 2 million subscribers, and I watched his review of WandaVision, probably not all of it, but like half of it, to get what the world is, because I just don't understand, and it's all like in her mind. She's creating it, and it's almost like a Truman Show type deal in her mind, and I'm interested. I'm as interested in that as I am in The Mandalorian, which is probably that much.
Gotcha. Mandalorian is awesome, not just because, it's helping build the Star Wars universe, but the technology that they were using behind that is now being utilized by other movies. It's not just The Mandalorian anymore. It's not even just Star Wars anymore. It's like the stuff that Jon Favreau does, like with Lion King too, even, like it just keeps building and people want to be like him.
Yeah. What Jon Favreau does is he uses the right technology. So The Mandalorian brought back using models and motion capture, or not motion capture, but model capture, and increased the technology that's ever been used, like news test stuff that's ever been used, and did a callback that hasn't been used in 40 years because that's what needed to be used. And like that's what's awesome about Jon Favreau.
Yeah. Anyways, back to WandaVision. Colin, it it really threw me for a loop as well, and I was really curious where I was going, and it was painful that it was only one episode a week. There was the first week, I guess, had 2 episodes. But it makes sense once you get to the modern style. And then actually, so like the amount of references in the WandaVision season to other Marvel or MCU content, to the Marvel comics, to other superhero movies made by other companies, to old shows, to new TV shows. Like, they had so many references and nods to so many. It was crazy to me that was all done in one season. Like, I wish there was actually a second season. I don't think there's going to be, because there's not really a way to do that. But how each one progressed to where, and they were so confident with it. Like, the first couple episodes, now going back, it's painful because now I know how the second half of the season goes. But it was awesome how it was referencing Bewitched, the Dick Van Dyke Show, and all that stuff. And it was so confident in what it was doing, and it was impressive how I mean, they were changing their. It wasn't just the visuals that was changing; it was their style of acting that was changing between each episode.
Yeah,
like, that was very impressive. It would be like if someone made a movie and they were every day of shooting, almost, not quite, they did a different style of acting. Like, that would be hard for an actor or an actress to do. Yeah. And it was insanely impressive. I really liked it.
Yeah. The set design, and again, they used, like, they had to use practical effects for some of it, but they used practical effects for the stuff that was, like, back when they would have had to use practical effects. So any, like, thing weird that they did it in a way that looked kind of cheesy, but they did it on purpose.
And I know people that have finished. I was curious. I was asking you guys if you liked it or didn't before, because I know a lot of people that were over theorizing the whole season, and so when it happened, they were like, "Oh, my theory wasn't true. I had this huge grand theory that is this other thing instead that happened." But I really liked how they ended it, because I felt like they did answer a lot of things. They set up a bunch of stuff, but they answered some things which created more questions, and then some questions they didn't leave answered. So it's like they were really smart about it, and I'm just really impressed with Marvel right now, because I was really thinking Endgame was going to be the end game.
Yeah, I think like maybe from episode 3 or 4 on, the things that my brain would go, oh, I wonder if they're going to do this. Then in the next episode, they would do that, but then set up something else, which was very satisfying, right? And then in the next episode, but in that episode, they would give you a hint to the next thing that was like, oh, does that mean such and such? And then in the next episode, it was, they paced that really well. And I wasn't interested in anything post-Endgame. I was very satisfied having grown up with all those movies. I thought, okay, I'm done. If I see something, cool. If I don't, cool. I don't really care anymore. But they got me. They got me hooked. I want to see what else they can do.
The one thing that threw me off with each of the different styles that they did, even up to when they were doing like the Office type style, is that how clear the picture was. That was really throwing me, because I was used to all these TV shows, whether it's the Dick Van Dyke Show or The Office, to where it has some grain. Like, it's not the crystal clear HD. Yeah. So that's the one thing that threw me off. But even they were really smart with the ratios when they're doing stuff. So if Colin, this is a slight spoiler and stuff like that, but when things are like, I'll say what you were saying, in her mind, in Wanda's mind, they would have it a certain aspect ratio. Whenever something was outside of her mind, they would change the aspect ratio of of what you were watching to just be one.
I didn't notice.
Oh, it was crazy. They were so consistent, and it helped so much with the storytelling to know, like, okay, it's something else. Like, we just changed what we're seeing right now. Because for a while, we don't know that we're watching Wanda's show. Colin, this is a spoiler. We don't know that we're watching her show. We think we're watching what Marvel is making. We're watching what Wanda is making. And until the aspect ratio changes, then we realize now we're watching what Marvel is making.
Gotcha.
It was pretty cool. Yeah. My mind. Like, I don't want to build it up too much, but it was a great way for them to start putting stuff back out there after COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a very just like offbeat way to begin.
Very offbeat.
It wasn't like they were still hanging on to what they were doing. They're sort of just like starting a new thing.
And I know not everyone will like it. We can make reaction videos.